Welcome to my NFL Week 16 picks and predictions. I will be picking these games both against the spread and who I think will win outright, but I do track my record against the spread. Last week is the worst week I have had by far. I went 5-11 against the spread. That puts me at 130 and 104 on the season against the spread this year. And it's week 16. I just don't know who's good and who's not. There doesn't seem to be a team that consistently wins at a high level or plays at a high level other than the Niners. Everybody else we've seen ups and downs from consistently and kind of in a big way, like big swings up and down. Dallas up and down, Philly up and down, Buffalo down then up, Kansas City not very consistent. Baltimore's played pretty good. Detroit loses to Chicago, then kills Denver. I don't know who's good and who's not. Maybe no one's good except for the Niners. It's fun to see. You never really know what's going to happen. It makes it very difficult to pick the spreads, okay? Because you don't know which version of which team you're going to get. It's hard. But we're going to do our best, and we're going to make a big comeback in week 16, hopefully, and improve this record going into the end of the year. Let's start with Thursday night's game. We have the Rams hosting the Saints, and the Rams are 4.5-point favorites at home. Both teams are 7-7 right now, and both teams are obviously fighting for a spot in the playoffs. The Rams are currently in the 7th seed, but they have Seattle and New Orleans right underneath them. And after this, the Rams play the Giants and the Niners. And if the Niners are not sitting players in week 18, I don't think LA wants to be relying on beating the best team in football to make the playoffs. So this game is obviously huge for them if they want to make that playoff push. And I continue to struggle with New Orleans and their inconsistency this year. They lose by 2 scores to Atlanta. They lose by 8 to a bad Minnesota team. Then they come back and blow out the Giants and the Panthers. And I know those teams aren't good, but really not any of those 4 are good. And they're just completely different teams when they play them. I think the Rams overall are better coached, have a better quarterback, have better skill players, and an overall better offense. And even though 4.5 seems a little bit high, I think that they're going to take care of that. I think they're the better team. And I think they're a team that does deserve to be in the playoffs. So I'm going to take the Rams to win and cover -4.5 at home against New Orleans. Then we have 2 Saturday games this week. We have Jake Browning and the Cincinnati Bengals heading into Pittsburgh as 2.5 favorites on the road for our first game. And right off the bat, this feels like a trap game to me. The Bengals have been rolling even without Joe Burrow. Jake Browning's been playing amazing. They're coming off an electric win against the Vikings. He was playing out of his mind down the stretch and made some really incredible throws to win that game. But it feels like they're due for a letdown game, and so this one makes me nervous, but I just don't feel like the Steelers can pull that letdown game off. Pittsburgh's now coming in with their 3rd quarterback of the season. They have announced they're starting Mason Rudolph this week, and I have a hard time trusting that at all. I think even without Jamar Chase, Cincinnati just overall has a better team, and they're playing for something. I think they have a better chance at making the playoffs. I think they would be a better playoff team, and I think Pittsburgh's on the downswing. They're 7-7 right now, and I really think this might be Tomlin's first losing season, unfortunately. After this, Pittsburgh plays Kansas City and Cleveland. It looks like they could lose the rest of their games this year. I'm going to take the Bengals -2.5 and obviously to win the game. Our next Saturday game, we have the Buffalo Bills coming in as 11.5-point favorites on the road in LA against the Chargers. The Bills are coming off an absolute dominant, obliterating performance against the Dallas Cowboys. Absolutely murdered them. Josh Allen didn't even have to try. He threw for 94 yards on purpose, which is crazy because we were getting absolutely bullied on the ground. Just bullied. And it was just a bad day for Cowboys fans overall. But the Bills look great, and they really are building some momentum heading into the end of the year. And unfortunately, they're fighting for their lives to make the playoffs. So luckily for them, this game should be relatively easy. The Chargers just gave up 63 points to a Raiders team. They fired Brandon Staley and 4 other coaches. Justin Herbert's not playing, and their season's over. So I don't know what this line would have to be for me to take them. I think even if it was 24, I would take Buffalo. I think Buffalo's cruising right now. I think they desperately need the game. I think they want to make statements, continue to improve on their offense. I think they're going to kill them. I think it's going to be an easy one. I'm going to take Buffalo to win and cover -11.5. Then to start our Sunday slate, Cleveland is heading into Houston, and Houston is 2.5-point favorites at home. The Browns are coming off a 3-point victory over Chicago, a game in which they easily could have lost. And Joe Flacco threw for almost 400 yards. I think he had 374. Unfortunately, that was paired with 3 interceptions. But like I've said in 3 weeks in a row now, the man has no fear and he is slinging the ball, and their defense is continuing to perform, and I think they're a legitimate threat in the playoffs. I don't know if CJ Stroud is going to play in this one. He's still listed as questionable right now, and unfortunately, I just think Houston has lost all of their momentum. Injuries have hurt them so much this year. CJ Stroud is questionable. Tank Dell's out for the year. Still Nico Collins is banged up. I don't know about Dalton Schultz. Like, it just seems like they're heading the wrong direction, and it seems like all of that momentum they had has just halted, and I don't know where they stand right now. It just doesn't seem like they have the juice to finish the year out strong. So I'm going to take Cleveland plus 2.5 to cover and to win outright in Houston. Then we have the Lions heading into Minnesota as 3.5-point favorites on the road. And I really just don't know about this Lions team. Talk about ups and downs. They've had some tough losses, double-digit loss to the Bears. They really haven't played good in like a month, even though they've won a couple of games in that span. And I felt really good about taking Denver last week against them. And what do? They come out and they win 42 to like 14. And it's like, where have you guys been? Like, they want to be taken as real playoff threats, but they just don't put out games like that consistently. So I don't know what we're getting out of them. The Vikings, on the other hand, have Nick Mullins playing quarterback, and he actually balled against the Bengals. They almost won that game, but it's difficult when you look at this Vikings team because they're another team that has had 3 quarterbacks this season. So it's hard to look back on their games or their stats and really get like a good feel for how they play, because Nick Mullins now has only played 1 game and he played really well, but who's to say he's going to do that 2 weeks in a row? Like, there's a reason he's their third option. I just don't know if I believe in him to put up 2 good games in a row. So I don't know. This one's hard. 3.5-point favorites on the road for a team that really hasn't played that great, but I really don't think I have a choice here. I think I'm going to take Detroit to win and cover 3.5, and maybe they'll just get, finish off the season strong with a few really good wins. I just can't put the faith in Minnesota right now. Then we have the Packers heading into Carolina to play the Panthers, a team that had like 43 fans at their game last week against Atlanta. But guess what? I'm done with the Packers team. I'm over it. This is a team that lost to Pittsburgh, barely beat the Chargers, had 2 games in a row against Kansas City and Detroit, and everyone rushed to crown this team. Like, they're back. They're going to make the playoffs. Jordan Love's the guy. Like, 2 games. Everyone was in. And even I was a part of that. I was like, geez, maybe they are good. No. They lost to the Giants, and they got killed by the Bucks. The Giants are not good at football, and the Bucks are teetering. So, like, I can't take them serious anymore. They haven't been good all year. They had 2 good games, and it seems like we all just forgot about, the rest of the product they've put out this season, and I'm done. I'm done betting on them. I'm done picking them. So Carolina sucks. I mean, they're the worst team in the league right now. The Packers are favored by 4.5 on the road. I believe the Packers will win. I am not taking them minus 4.5. I'm going to take Carolina plus 4.5 and the Packers to win. And who knows? Maybe the Panthers win. I don't know. But I don't know. I'm not going to put my faith in this Green Bay team. I just feel like they have burned me too many times. And I've really been holding on to that hope of Jordan Love being good. Not hope like I want him to, but just you see flashes and you're like, I don't know. I really thought he was getting there, and they just have looked terrible for 2 weeks in a row. And even before that, like before those 2 wins, they didn't look great either. And their defense has been bad. So I don't know. I'm probably going to get this one wrong, but I can't get myself to pick the Packers minus 4.5. I just can't. So don't take my advice if you don't want to, but I'm taking Carolina plus 4.5 Packers to win. Another team that I've given up on is Atlanta, and you can tell it's week 16. I'm tired of these teams just burning me and me continuing to, like, every week I'm like, maybe they're not that bad, like, let's stick around. And then you look around and it's week 16 and like, what have I been doing all year? Like, just hoping. Like, how many games is this Falcons team gonna win or lose by 2 points, like 2 or 3 points? They just went into a game like I just talked about against Carolina, practically a neutral site. They scored 7 points and they lost to the worst team in the league with no fans there. Like, I don't know how you take them serious, and I don't know what I think about them. I don't know why I continue to, like, kind of, believe in them, but I'm done with that. I'm done. So they have Indianapolis coming to town, and the Colts are favored by 2.5 points on the road. That's an obvious one for me. I'm taking the Colts minus 2.5. I think they're a flat out, by far better football team. I think they have reasons to really go out there and try. They're fighting for their lives in this playoff spot right now, and so are the Falcons, but they don't seem to care. So I'm going with the Colts minus 2.5, and obviously to win, and maybe I'll get burned now the other way. I don't know. Then we have Tennessee hosting Seattle, and the Titans are 2.5-point dogs at home against the Seahawks. Listen, Seattle's coming off a very impressive win over Philly, and Tennessee has been up and down, mostly down this year. And there's not a lot to say about this game. I think Seattle is a better team. I think they're fighting for something that Tennessee has not. Seattle is in the hunt for the playoffs. They're with a bunch of other 7-7 teams right now. I don't know who's playing quarterback, Geno Smith or Drew Lock. Drew Lock looked good last week. He hasn't always, but I don't know. I don't like this Titans team that much. And I know they beat the Dolphins 2 weeks ago, and they just beat the Texans, but Houston didn't have CJ Stroud. And it's the end of the year. They have no shot at the playoffs. Seattle's fighting for something. I do think that matters. And I talk about that a lot, in game-to-game situations. Like, I do think that means something. And I think that Seattle is gonna win this game. So I'm gonna take Seattle to win and cover -2.5 on the road. Next, we have the New York Jets, and they're like 5th or 6th quarterback swap this year. I think Trevor Siemian is playing this week, but I guess we'll find out when come Sunday. The Jets are hosting the Commanders, and New York is favored by 3.5 at home. And Washington's not good, but you're crazy if you think I'm taking the Jets to cover any spread over 3 points. There's just no way. I can't do it. It's week 16. We've seen enough. They just got absolutely murdered by the Dolphins. They just have not shown any sign of life, and neither of the Commanders. But two bad teams play each other. I'm going to take the dog if it's over 3 points. I'm not going to count on a bad team covering 3.5. It's just not going to happen. And I don't even know who's playing quarterback. I think Washington keeps it within 3 points. I think the Jets are going to squeak out a win by 2 or 3, but I'm going to take Washington to cover plus 3.5, and I'm going to take the Jets to win the game. Then we have a huge game between the Buccaneers and the Jaguars. They're in different conferences, but this game has huge playoff implications for each team individually. They're both currently leading their divisions, but they both have teams right on their ass wanting to take their spot. The Bucs are favored by 0.5 point at home, so it's pretty much a pick 'em. And Trevor Lawrence is questionable right now. He's in concussion protocol. He still has that ankle injury that he suffered a few weeks ago, and I don't know if he's going to be in there. So with this game being so close and meaning so much, I'm going to give myself permission to pick based on Trevor Lawrence playing. So if he plays, I'm taking the Jags. If he doesn't play, I'm taking the Bucs. That's how I'm going to do it. And it's a pick 'em, so whoever wins covers. So again, if Lawrence plays, I'll take the Jags to win and cover. If he doesn't, I'll take the Bucs to win and cover. I think it's going to be a close game, and we'll see what happens. Then the Bears are at home against the Cardinals, and the Bears are favored by 4.5. I actually like what Chicago's been doing, and Justin Fields has played really kind of well since he came back. I can't trust that team overall, and 4.5 is a lot. So I don't know. I could be way off on this one, but I don't think Arizona's as bad as they've been playing, and I don't think Chicago's necessarily as good as they've looked. I don't know what I'm saying. I could be way wrong. I can't take Chicago -4.5. It's too big. It's two not very good teams. It's two teams that aren't really playing for much. I can't count on either one of them covering a spread that big. So because of that, I do think Chicago's going to win. I just don't know about if they are going to win by that much. So I'm going to take Arizona to cover the 4.5 and Chicago to win the game. Then we have the Dolphins hosting Dallas in Miami, and Miami is favored by 1.5 at home. And I'm just going to warn you, just don't take my advice on any Cowboys games. I'm off the rails. Like I said, this year, I feel like this is the week. It's just all, last week was so bad. So I feel like it's just, I'm like, I don't know what's what anymore. And last week was bad for me, like against the spread, and it was bad for my beloved Cowboys. They looked like absolute dirt, and I don't know. I mean, this is kind of the battle of the frauds, because neither team, so both teams have won 10 games this year, and we only have one game combined between the two of us that was a win over a team with an above 500 record. The Cowboys beat the Eagles. That's the only win that either team has right now above 500. So they're kind of in the same spot. They both put up a lot of big numbers against bad teams. They both blow a lot of people out. They both are front runners. When they play good teams, it doesn't look so good. So it's kind of like a good litmus test. When they play each other, what's going to happen? I, of course, I'm going to take Dallas plus 1.5 to cover and to win. I think they desperately need that bounce back win. I think that both teams have really great offenses. Dallas's defense looked, awful last week, and they got ran over like a JV team. So I don't know what's going to happen there, but it's going to be a shootout. I think. And it'll be a really fun game to watch. I hope it's fun. I said that last week against Buffalo. I said it'll be back and forth. It'll be fun. Yet did not happen. Was not fun. It was awful. And it crushed my dreams. And so I would really appreciate, if this Cowboys team could give me a good Christmas and make up for that terrible, terrible week of football. So I don't know. I think both teams are good. I think they both need to prove they can beat a good team, a reputable team, and I'm going to take Dallas, but I think the spread reflects the game. I think it's going to be close, and I think it'll be fun. Then we have the Broncos hosting the Patriots, and the Broncos are 6.5-point favorites at home. Denver's coming off that game against Detroit where they lost by like 100, and the Patriots lost to the Chiefs, and they played pretty well, but they lost, by multiple scores, and I don't know what to do because, like I said, it's week 16. I don't know who's who. I don't know if the Broncos are good. I think they're solid. I don't think they're great. And I think the Patriots, overall team is okay. I think they are obviously having trouble at quarterback. I don't hate the rest of their team. And there's moments in that Chiefs game where it's like they played okay. I don't know. I think Denver's going to win. And I think New England probably wants to lose for their pick. But I don't feel good about taking Denver minus 6.5. So for this one, I'm going to take Denver to win the game, and I'm going to take New England to cover plus 6.5. Then we have 3 Christmas games this week. So that is going to be lots of fun. Our first game on Christmas is Kansas City hosting Vegas, and Kansas City is favored by 10.5 points at home. And Kansas City's coming off that game, like I just mentioned, against New England, where they didn't really play great, but they came away with a double-digit victory, and that kind of seems to be their MO this year. They did the same thing against Vegas a few weeks ago. They didn't play that good. They got down early, and you look at the score at the end of the game, and they won by 20. And it's like, what happened? I don't know. They just pull off wins, and they've had some tough losses. They've had some close games here and there, but overall, they just still seem like they find ways to win football games. If their receivers can just figure a little bit out, I think they're going to be fine. I think they're going to want to build momentum going into the playoffs. I think this is a good chance at home against a relatively bad team to make a statement in one of these last 3 games. Let's get it rolling here and get some confidence built up heading into the playoffs. And I know the Raiders just scored 63 points, but the Chargers are a lost cause. I don't know how much you can put, any value into that game. I think the Raiders are okay. I think the Chiefs are much better, and I think they're going to win and cover the 10.5 at home. And we have another big spread. We have the Eagles hosting the Giants, and the Eagles are also 10.5-point favorites at home. And Philly's coming off 3 straight losses now. They've lost to San Fran, Dallas, and now Seattle 3 straight weeks. And even though I think Philly is a much better team than New York, they really have been in a lot of close games this year, even against bad teams, and they're not playing great right now overall. So I think that Philly's going to win this. They really have to win it if they want to win their division. It's really a tight race right now between Dallas. If they win out the rest of the year, they win that tiebreaker. They will win the NFC East. So I think they're going to win. I don't think it's going to be by 11 points or more. I don't know. I know the Giants are terrible, and I could look back on this and realize that was awful, but I don't know. I feel like Philly just has not looked great for a few weeks, almost a month now. So I'm going to take Philly to pull it off, but I am going to take New York to cover plus 10.5. Our last Christmas game and our last game of the week is like a gift to us all. It's the best game of the week by far. It's probably the 2 best teams in the NFL right now. We have the Niners hosting the Ravens, and San Francisco is favored by 5.5 at home, which is pretty impressive if you do consider Baltimore the 2nd best team in the league right now. 5.5-point spread is pretty big. That could potentially be a Super Bowl matchup, not a small spread for a Super Bowl. So it's going to be very, very fun to watch. I think it'll be super interesting. Lamar Jackson usually plays well against NFC opponents. They're not used to his speed, can't replicate it in practice. The Ravens have been playing well. The Niners right now are clearly the best team in the league. They've been dominant week after week after week. They win by double digits every week. They just look like a complete team, and they really look like they're going to be cruising to the Super Bowl unless something crazy happens. Having said that, I think the Niners will win, and I don't know if I'm hoping this. I would, just as a fan of the league, it would be so fun to see on Christmas night the 2 best teams in the league just, have a brawl, have a really close, tough fought game. So I'm going to take Baltimore to cover plus 5.5, even though I am going to take the Niners to win. I would like to think, the Ravens can keep it close and keep it competitive and maybe win. I don't know, but I really hope so. I think it's going to be a really, really fun game to watch as a fan of the league. And who knows, we might be looking at a Super Bowl match. So I don't know. Hopefully it's a good one. I'm going to take the Niners to win and the Ravens to cover. Thank you all so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed. All of you that comment and like means the world. It helps the channel out so much. Again, I appreciate it. Thank you. And I'll see you guys in the next one.